Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzama, bringing you up to speed with the big happenings in politics and in the polity at midday. Yet again, suspected headsmen have killed at least 33 persons in Gwa West and Upper local government areas of Benue State, north central Nigeria. And the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogara, laments shortage of personnel to carry out his tripartite role of military, coast guard and diplomacy along our waterways. Welcome again to the program. It's a brand new month, the second day in the month of June, and there's a lot to unpack on the show as far as the state of the polity is concerned. But before we get to the very disturbing part, let's tell you that the federal government has declared Friday, June the 6th and Monday, June the 9th, as a public holiday to mark this year's the celebration. This was announced by the Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubumitunji, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulating all Muslim faithful at home and in the diaspora, while assuring Nigerians that the people-oriented reforms and initiatives carried out in furtherance of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu's administration are to restore Nigeria on the path of progress. It appears the death toll will never stop as far as the attacks are concerned in Benue State. This time, 33 persons have been killed by headsmen, suspected headers, in coordinated attacks in Gwa West and Upper local government areas of the state, leaving many residents missing. Speaking to Channels Television via telephone conversation, a community leader, Mr. Patrick Modum, noted that around 7 p.m. on Sunday, residents of Se Askwam in Naka Town, the headquarters of Gwa West local government area, came under attack by suspected headers, leaving 17 people dead, as many of them fled for their lives. While in neighboring Upper local government area, 16 people were killed at Ediko and Angpali communities. The lawmaker representing Upper State constituency at the Benue State House of Assembly, Mr. Abu Omoru, says many people are still missing, but hopes to get a clearer picture of the attack in the coming hours. And talking about the state of security, the Chief of Naval Staff has been explaining as to what the Navy is doing to enhance national security capability, but he laments the shortage of personnel to be able to carry out that tripartite role of military, policing the Coast Guard, coastal areas, as well as other forms of diplomacy carried out by the Nigerian Navy. Let's take a listen to him.
That's why we're deployed in Maiduguri, Lake Chad, the northwest, northeast, south, everywhere in that particular role of provision of aid to civil authority. And we identified that because of our very few numbers, that we are having limitations with respect to being able to provide the much needed force. We also have limitations with respect to providing personnel who are adequately trained to fight on land, being that our orientation is maritime based. So the Special Operations Command and the Marines that we're establishing, they're essentially to be able to train people who can fight on land in line with our total spectrum maritime strategy. We're already doing it, but we want to do it better. And why have we chosen Makurdi? Of course, you know the River Benue is a vast expanse of landmass and the insecurity that is taking place in those areas. And also you notice that the elements of that command will not all be in Makurdi. For instance, the Navy base in Lake Chad will be a unit of that command. The Navy base in Shagunu will also be a unit of that command. So many of the units that are fighting on land, for instance, also our Special Boat Service, all those units will be part of the command. So the command is essentially to provide a coordinating framework for all our special forces operations that are supposed to contribute in provision of internal security and civil aid to military aid to civil power.
All right, so that's the Chief of Naval Staff putting out an explainer as to the effort of the Navy and what is the limitation as far as combating oil theft and other forms of insecurity across the waterways is concerned. And that's where we're basing our conversation from. We're trying to look at what has happened in the last 2 years under President Bola Tinubu, who has marked his second year in office. The anniversary took place on the 29th of May, and so there's a continuous assessment, some kind of looking at a scorecard, because the government itself, the presidency has put out the things the president has done and the policies of government, and all sides are reacting to it, whether or not they are doing well or otherwise. Let's bring in our guest. Ike Chudole is a National Publicity Secretary of Forum of Nigerian Professionals in Politics and a former Texas State Chairman, Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee. He joins us from Houston in Texas. Mr. Ike, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Short notice though, but fantastic opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I know it's not been easy for staying awake, so thank you for waking up early. That's if you even slept. But let's get to the conversation of the day. I like to start with a very generic template in some kind of way to paint your own picture of what you see 2 years down the line. But I try to put out a poser as to what the government says. For me, one of the brightest things this government has done in terms of its fiscal management of our resources, you can talk about the subsidy removal and all of that, is the issue of debt service to revenue. So a situation where we were spending literally everything we had in terms of revenue to service debt was totally unacceptable. But we understand that it has gone down to 60-something, I think about 40-something%. I'm not sure the percentage now. That's commendable. But there are other pain points as far as the twin policies of the government is concerned when it comes to removal of all the subsidies. What's your assessment of this government so far?
Yeah, thank you so much once again. 2 years down the line, first of all, let's look at how he started, how President Bola Tinubu started. People, because it's APC, transiting from one APC administration to another, people kind of crediting to whatever happened in the previous administration. But we're not running a parliamentary system. It's not party, it's the administration and the policy of each administration. So the President Bola Tinubu inherited, it was a zero economy, because the economic trust of the administration should have been, the guardrail should have been provided by the central bank governor. And we had a former central bank governor that really was more interested in politics than in policy. So President Bola Tinubu inherited an economy that was depleted. Foreign investment, they didn't have any trust, they didn't have any confidence because there was no stability. So you have foreign investors leaving, the oil companies leaving, the aviation industries, everything that came in, everybody was leaving, packing and going. So that's the state of the economy that President Bola Tinubu inherited. And you remember, everybody here remembers that as per debt servicing, you remember that in the last 3 years of President Buhari's administration, we are spending over 98% of our revenue to service debt. And it's now down to less than 50, about 46% or something. Yeah, people, Nigerians, of course, we want microwave effect. We want it to happen immediately. But when you see where he has taken the country from to where we are now, I am very hopeful. He's done a tremendous job. President Bola Tinubu and his team has done a tremendous job. And, so I'm very confident that the next 2 years is going to be remarkable. Thank you.
All right, so we can look at a few things as on the dashboard and make those commendations. So we've talked about the debt service to revenue. We can talk about the reserve in terms of the multiplier effect in terms of the net reserve in that sense. We can also talk about the increase in fact that is being touted in dollar terms, still literally the same, but in naira terms, significantly record high, almost 2 trillion in that sense. Sometimes held back because to control the money supply in the system. But however, the lived-in experience of people is biting. So the question is, as much as this is commended in terms of subsidy removal from FX, from PMS, and even from partly from electricity, in an economy that is developing, which some people are saying is ill-advised, the cost component, the social cost component is biting so hard. So there is a debate of the neoclassical or neoliberal policies of government as against the welfare system of government that the other administration has taken place. The reality in the face of Nigerians as a looker, which I want you to help Nigerians to interpret, is the fact that as far as they are concerned, even though things were bad, they are not as bad as it is. And they need to be alive to be able to enjoy whatever it is that's been touted as the dividend of some of these reforms. Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that make a strong argument for the administration to look at and begin to look at what to rejig?
Yeah, of course, we have to look at things from the perspective of the electorate, of the citizens. We have to first of all look at it. How do they see it? Then we equally look at it from what government is doing or what government has done. And there's no way there must be a synergy in this two viewpoint perspective, because people are more interested in, are they paying more now than they were before? So for a lot of people, they don't really care if we are no longer paying using 98% of our revenue to service debts. They rather let us use 120% and service debt, but let the prices of things. So we are kind of deferring the suffering or the challenges till tomorrow for some other people. So, but what's going on right now? They are tough decisions. They are not, being the president is not. It's not a position to make. You're not trying to be It's not to be to make friends. You're going to take tough decisions that is going to drive the country to where we need to be. So yes, the presidency, Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, may need to look at how to rejig some of the policy implementation. But however, I think, part of the topic for discussion is communication to the grassroots, because I think that's where the gap is. The gap is because hope is a major driver in every economy, in every nation, is hope. And hope has to be communicated by what you're doing. There's a lot of programs that are being implemented, the UBEC, primary health care, and even the sustainable development initiative, and these are things that are driving to the heart of poverty reduction. But the larger picture is that the grassroots that are supposed to be the benefactors of these initiatives don't really read the newspaper. They don't watch news. They are looking at their source of information are largely informal. They're talking to the market women. They're talking to the church, church leadership. They're talking to trade unions. So beer parlor. So their information resources are different. So that's where the government have a challenge. The government have to figure out a way to take the information down to the grassroots. The media aid to the president and the people at the executive communication level are talking at that level, press conferences and, press reviews and all that. But the grassroots, you're doing all these things to them. You're providing student loan to students. You're doing all these things. But the people that are the recipients don't know. The basic education, free education, the primary health care, the sustainable initiative, the people that are supposed to receive it don't know.
Mr. Chidole, just a moment. If I may come here, what is a stronger way to communicate? Is it by rhetoric? They have a lot of teams of spokespersons. In fact, 3 are the vanguard of it. We have Bayo Nanuga, we have Sunday Dare, was a former minister, we have our friend Daniel Bwala. All of these persons are spokespersons. But What Nigerians really want to see in terms of how it trickles down, maybe it's beyond rhetorics, because they have to suffer.
No.
Just a moment. There's a moral hazard of emotionally unintelligent decisions that are being made sometimes. When you look at the money spent on the VP residence, I have asked them to confirm or otherwise 21 billion, we understand. The ICC, there's a big commission, we're hearing is 39 billion, I don't know how much. The president went to buy a private jet. There's nothing that will communicate stronger than a level of prudence and austerity at the fiscal level than just coming to speak English. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, there are things I will not argue about, but, still focusing on communication and how, what Bayo, Nanoga, and the other team are doing is at that level. What I'm talking about is, the things that the government is doing that the grassroots are benefiting from. With the grassroots, most of the people in the grassroots don't know that these things are available. If you don't know they are available, you won't be able to get it. So like I said, the communication at the grassroots level is basically through these informal means. So there has to be a lot of, and it's not going to be driven by Bayo, Nanoga, and the rest of the media team, Boala. They are not going to drive it. There has to be another communication infrastructure for town hall meetings, because government work based on task orders. Every task order that has been executed needs to be communicated to the people at the grassroots. It has to be on task order basis. Every task order, government needs to get, because if you don't do it, the opposition are going to capitalize on this gap and continue with disinformation. So you provided this opportunity for people at the grassroots. They need to know that it is there. If they don't know, they're not going to utilize it. And after 2 years, they don't know that you have provided all these amenities to them. Before now, I mean, right now, the state governors get more than triple of what they used to receive before. And because of the subsidy removal and a lot of other programs implemented, and making more funds available for development at that grassroots, government needs to be able to communicate it to the grassroots. We need to have a grassroots communication strategy.
Mr. Chidoli, my apologies. Since we're talking communication, and I'm going to go back and rephrase what is of more effective communication in that sense. They bought eggs for less than 50 naira. They bought eggs in Nigeria less than 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, for less than 50 naira for one egg. Now they are buying that same egg. It hasn't. It's not as if the egg is now rubbing cream and is looking more beautiful. The same egg. They are buying it for 250 naira. What form of communication do you have to put out to the man in my village who bought egg for less than 50 naira and now 250?
Okay, let me flip it. A couple of years ago in America here, a gallon of fuel was about $1.20. Today, we're paying $3 a gallon. A crate of egg was about 20 cents. Now we're paying over $1. I mean, these things, since COVID, the global economic situation changed. And if you're not able to communicate it properly to the grassroots, you are going to be the one taking the blame. It's not something done by President Tinubu. The whole global countries are at an economic loss. So you need to be able to show them what's happening. So saying that, oh, they bought egg at 50 naira, and that is true. You cannot deny people's experiences because these are lived experiences. These are what they're going through. But you probably have to benchmark it. This is what we met, and this is how it happened. People at the grassroots need to know. So when I tell you that in America, I'm paying $3 a gallon compared to paying $1.20 a gallon a few years ago. And people are going crazy. And under Biden, we paid all that. So there is nobody, and even with that, Biden still had very great rating. With all the terrible things happening to the economy, he had fantastic rating. So I think why I'm pushing it to America is because of the way the Biden team was able to communicate. So I think, and it's grassroots-based communication. President Tinubu, in my opinion, is doing a great job because it's actually a template. Because when they say template, Nigeria has this cliche, follow who, no road. It's a template of somebody that got into Lagos at 600 million naira IGR monthly and moved it to around 50 billion monthly. That's what we have now. And all the development. So it's still the same infrastructure, still the same template that is being implemented, same template that a lot of governors are copying, the same template. So we need to, this is what I recognize. You know, in FNPP, we deal with data. We are looking at things, sensitivities, and we're looking at data, and we are seeing this is where the gap. We have identified, the Forum of Nigerian Professionals in Politics have identified where the challenges. And I tell you, President Tinubu is doing a fantastic job. Communication is a challenge, is a communication gap. People need to know this is what has been done, and this is where we met it, and we need to be able to, this thing has to be able to be communicated to the grassroots in the way they will understand. They understand through the market women.
So if you were to, Mr. Chidoli, my apologies, if you were to help the president with his communication, what are you going to tell him to tell the people at the grassroots? My apologies. So you said a couple of things, so let me synopsize it. On one hand, you did the comparison of the PMS price in the US and here. That has gone up by 100%. Ours has gone up by 400%. So that comparison is way, you know, you can see it's world apart. On the other hand, they've sorted out their legacy issues to a large extent: electricity, road, power. We have this as fundamental as it is till tomorrow. On the other hand, this is a part of the downside of neoliberal policies promoted by Milton Friedman, which is that inequality gap that keeps widening. Right now, the middle class is literally almost wiped out. Businesses are closing down, and there is not enough buffer to be able to hold on as it is. Insufficient buffer if you take it in that point. So my question to you is, when you talk about doing a great job, what is destination here? It's a question I started asking from day one when this policy was put out. Everybody said they would remove subsidy. What is destination? So if you're talking to a Nigerian like me and saying, don't worry, endure this pain, this is where we will land eventually, what will it be?
Yeah. I mean, I won't be talking to somebody like you. You're too informed. I mean, you're informed. You know how to get the news. You know how to analyze data. So I'm not going to be talking because you already know savings are done here. We've cut down billions of, how much? 400 billion spent every month on fuel subsidy, and it's being put in industrial revolution. These are structural reforms that have been done. I mean, the president is implementing the renewed hope agenda line by line, economic revitalization, and this is where it's been done. Look at solid minerals. We've never had any revenue officially coming in from solid minerals. Within the past 2 years, we have over $800 million invested, $600 million on a new lithium processing plant, $200 million on another process plant around Nasarawa, between Nasarawa and Abuja. You know, so we have things that are going on, but people don't know. $600 million lithium. Lithium is the driver for the EV operations. So the world is going to, because where he's doing, we don't want to be exporting raw materials anymore. We want to beneficiate it so that people can buy finished product from Nigeria. And this is economic revitalization. So asking me to explain it to somebody like you.
That is the point, Mr. Chidoli. That is the point. I wanted to bring you to the point, and you've come to that point. Elitist politics, elitist economics, trickle-down economics, take care of the big companies and all of that. So let me give you a clear example. For instance, right now, the basics we're supposed to do, I annualized 2023, 2024. I've analyzed first part of 2025. We've done between 1.2 to 1.4 to 1.5 million barrels per day of crude oil. We haven't made significant progress as we should. It's just the progress is slow. Our GDP, if we want to achieve $1 trillion economy, we're doing right now 182 billion. The big question and the general question is, me and you and I can speak all this big grammar, understand all of these numbers. The people at the grassroots, we are always at the end of the, who always have the short end of the stick. When will they ever be able to say, I am proud to be Nigerian because Nigeria is taking care of them? Not because they are putting food on their table, but because they are providing an environment for them to survive and thrive. That is my last question to you.
We're still saying the same thing. The whole issue is communication. You call it elitist. I wrote it down. Elitist economic. I can't remember how you said it, but it's not elitist in the sense that the people on the ground are not understanding what's going on. Maybe that's what you call elitist, but I believe strongly, considering what they've done. And another thing, when we talk about what the government has done and the kind of leadership, there are credits I would really like to do. Let's just go back. I need to give credit to the governors that have been working. Even before governors, the National Assembly, this is the first time we have gotten a National Assembly that is not working as an opposition team to a president. Just like
and that is, let me understand you, Mr. Chidole. That's supposed to. Hold on. Hold on just a moment.
Okay.
This is a National Assembly that has been touted as a rubber stamp National Assembly. In the state of emergency that was passed, that we clearly were supposed to see votes count, they were using void vote. That is a controversial issue now before the Senate to adjudicate over. I can go on and on. I cover politics. I can go on and on as to the places that the National Assembly has failed.
You can, but you have to let me land before you go on.
Let me allow you.
Why I say National Assembly? Why I say National Assembly, not an opposition? Every government of every nation, if you have your party, all the presidents want their legislative branch to be predominantly led by their own party. That way, it's less difficult for the executive branch to carry out, implement their policies. So this is the first time we have, it's not rubber stamp. Look at what Trump is getting done. All his, his policies are being passed. His tax reform are being passed. The same way here. I don't know why, when it's done in Nigeria, I will say it's a rubber stamp. If it's done in America or in the UK, it's, oh, fantastic. They are working together. We want a National Assembly that will work with the executive so that the distance can be far. We're talking about fast track, 2 years, and it's been done. I really have to give credit to the leadership of the National Assembly, Senate President Babio. He's doing a fun because and these things he's able to do this because of the inclusive leadership provided by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If it's not inclusive, they're not going to work with him. But I'm very grateful that they're happening, even on the state level. On the state level, you see, I have to equally, because we are looking at different things. And like I said, is a communication gap. The forum, the Progressive Governors Forum, I have to give credit to them because of
we're totally out of time. My sincere apologies, but I'm sure we're going to have the conversation yet again. Because we sit here, we watch all sides of the government, we do this analytics, and we can tell you on good authority some of the things we see. It's not very convenient for everything to be ticked in the box. That's why even Trump is having a hard time. Some of his executive orders have been stopped by the courts. That's what we're talking about. Anyway, we must thank you. Everybody has a position. Ike Chidole, a fantastic gentleman, for coming on the program. Is I don't want to miss your title so that I don't mix it up. The National Publicity Secretary, Forum of Nigerian Professionals in Politics, and the former Texas State Chairman, Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. I'm sure Nigerians will react to some of the things you've said. And thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, so next time, please, let's give, so that we can have a better time to talk about it. Because, you called me very late. And I couldn't,
it's
I
fine.
had to stay awake 2 a.m.
My sincere apologies.
Woke up by 2 a.m. to do this. All right. Y'all take care and have a lovely day.
Thank you. All right, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Zonga. Bye-bye.